How's it going, guys and girls? And yes, tonight is another big day. Well, we say big day. It's another big game for Arsenal as they take on Dynamo Zagreb at the Emirates to take another step closer. Well, to obviously take another great stride towards the knockout round of the Champions League. Now, forget recent Premier League form, forget FA Cup, forget the League Cup. It seems like it almost feels a little bit like we've run our race in those competitions. Well, we have in the FA Cup, obviously we're out. The Premier League, it does almost appear that, we keep stumbling. We can't make up ground on Liverpool. When Liverpool stumble, we kind of can't make the most of it. We've had a few opportunities in the Premier League, haven't we, to close the gap on Liverpool against Aston Villa again, just to put a bit of pressure on Liverpool. But we couldn't do it against Aston Villa. But the Champions League, in my opinion, is one competition where we have actually played some of our best football. The Champions League, in my view, is our best hope of a trophy. Now, some people will watch this video and think you ain't going to win the Champions League. And I'm not even saying we are. I don't think we are going to win the Champions League. I sincerely, at this point in the season, I doubt that Arsenal are going to win the Champions League. But I feel like it's our best avenue right now because in the Premier League, we're too hit and miss. League Cup obviously seems to be over. FA Cup we're already out of. So the Champions League is really our best hope. And I do think we've played some of our best football in the Champions League as well. People might argue, of course, the quality of teams at times in the Champions League isn't great, particularly when you're playing at the early stages. But obviously it's a bit different this year. Because obviously we've got the league phase. So the games are kind of formatted differently. So we've actually ended up playing, we played a PSG side. Obviously not the greatest PSG side. We played Inter Milan. But by and large, we are doing quite well in the Champions League. So, tonight is another big night for Arsenal. It's another big night for Arsenal, and against Dynamo Zagreb at the Emirates, you would expect Arsenal to turn up here today and win. No, that's no disrespect to Dynamo Zagreb, but when you look at Arsenal, when you look at the fact that we're playing at home, when you look at the fact that obviously Arsenal's record at home this season, particularly obviously in the Premier League, I don't think we've lost a game in the Premier League this season. I don't think we've lost a home game in the Champions League either. Obviously we haven't had as many as we have in the league, of course. But I do believe that this is another great opportunity for Arsenal to put a marker down in the Champions League, if you will. Now, Dynamo Zagreb are respectively third in their league. In their respective league, they are third. I think they're 7 points off top, I think, in their respective division. This is a good opportunity for Arsenal. I'm not expecting anything other than an Arsenal win today, but the questions have to be asked. Now, people are probably already asking these questions about Arteta in this season. If we don't have a particularly good run in the Champions League, let's say we get past the league phase of the Champions League and then we get knocked out in either the last 16 or the quarterfinals, subsequently like we did last season when we played Bayern Munich. It was probably the worst Bayern Munich side I have probably ever seen. I've been around for 32 years. It was probably the worst Bayern Munich team I've personally ever seen, and Arsenal didn't really turn up on those occasions. I think we managed to just about nick a draw through a late Trossard goal at the Emirates against Bayern Munich, and then obviously we went out 1-0 at the Allianz Arena in the return leg. This season is a big one for Arteta. He's got to at least get to a semi-final of the Champions League. Now, we're just basically due to the fact that in the FA Cup we've been very poor early on. We've gone out in one of the early rounds. League Cup, we've obviously got to the semi-final, but I don't think any big team like Arsenal gets judged on how they do in the League Cup. So it's that's kind of like one of those conversations. The League Cup is always one of those tournaments that you can take it or leave it. It's fantastic if you go far, and it's fantastic if you progress to the semi-finals or the final of the League Cup. But your season is not judged on what you do in the League Cup. It's your bread and butter is the Premier League, and obviously in this season as well, since we're returning into the Champions League. So the Premier League and the Champions League are the two competitions that a team like Arsenal are going to be primarily judged on. And obviously the Premier League, yes, we're mounting a kind of off the cuff, if you will, title challenge. I don't really see us as serious title contenders this season. Something tells me that Liverpool are going to win this league by about 12-15 points in the end. I've just got a slight feeling. But obviously for now we're in the title race, but the Champions League, it's an opportunity, and Arteta, for me, he's got to progress this team further in the Champions League. He has to get to at least a Champions League semi-final, in my view, just to take a bit of pressure off himself and to show a bit of progression. Because last season in the Champions League, like I said, we flopped against Bayern Munich in the quarterfinal after literally scraping through against Porto on penalties. The Porto game for me was a game that if we go out on penalties in that game, huge questions would have been asked. It was just lucky that David Raya managed to save a couple of the Porto penalties to help us get through, and obviously we took the penalties. We scored the subsequent penalties ourselves as well. But we didn't play particularly well in the knockout rounds. I'm honestly going to have to say it. Against Porto, I thought we were poor home and away. Porto were very well organised home and away, but we were very flat. Bayern Munich, at home, we scored early on through Saka, and then all of a sudden Bayern Munich got on top of us, and we had to kind of rescue the game late on through Trossard. So, and then we got knocked out. We were toothless, to be honest with you, at the Allianz in the return leg. So, is that lack of experience? Like I said, does it go back to the mentality issue that I'm talking about with Arsenal? But this season, it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity against it, and we have to obviously get through the league phase. It looks like we're going to get through the league phase. That almost seems like a certainty. But once we get into the knockouts of the Champions League, I am thinking to myself, as an Arsenal fan, that we have to progress far in this tournament if Arteta is to relieve some of that pressure on himself. Because I'm not saying he's got tons of pressure on his shoulders at this point, but I think he does have a reasonable amount of pressure on himself at this moment, Arteta. Just for the fact that since obviously when he first came and won the FA Cup, that kind of brought him time. But we haven't really won anything of real note since he's been here. And to be in the Champions League, obviously to be in the Champions League again this season, we have to do something in it. We have to go far in the Champions League. And I do feel if we get out of the league phase and then we get knocked out in the last 16, or we get knocked out in the quarter-final, say we put in another toothless performance, or we kind of just fold at a quarter-final. Huge question, and even I will ask questions of Arteta if that happens again this season, because what I'm expecting this season from Arsenal, seeing as they've already now got that Champions League experience, they've got a bit more Champions League experience from what happened last season, I'm expecting Arsenal to push on a little bit in that competition. I'm not expecting us to roll over for, the likes of Bayern Munich, one of the worst Bayern Munich teams I've seen. I'm expecting us to try and roll over teams, steamroll teams at times, because we do have a lot of quality. And you would have thought, by the time the knockout round comes, that Saka, players like that will be back, and perhaps it'll give us a bit more of a chance in those tournaments. Obviously, there's a big concern for Arsenal at the moment. Obviously, Saliba seems to have picked up an injury, and that is a big one. Obviously, him and Gabriel over the past 2 seasons have been like rocks at the back. I know I said in my last video Saliba's dropped off a little bit, which I think he has, but they have been rocks in the main. But like I said, when the knockout round comes of this competition, we need to be there. We need to have virtually a full squad available to be able to compete for it. And I think if we do, and obviously the knockout round of the Champions League is going to be a little bit away yet, so it gives players time to recover. There is little excuse. There is little excuse for Arsenal if we have everybody fit to not be at least pushing for a semi-final place of the Champions League. And like I said, it all starts tonight against Dynamo Zagreb. We have to get another win. We have to continue this good form we've got in the Champions League. Try and finish as high up the Champions League table as possible, and then hope for the best in the knockout round with the draw. But because obviously people can say about, you want to go far in the Champions League and you want to do this and that, but a lot of it does depend on the draw. If we get through this round and then we draw, let's say Real Madrid manage to scrape through, because obviously Real Madrid are kind of hanging on at the moment. If we strike Real Madrid in the knockout round, then we all know Real Madrid, when it gets to the business end of the Champions League, they kind of go from here to here. They go an extra level. So we could well be facing a real difficult challenge there. So it does all depend on the draw. The draw in any cup competition, for me, is it is a large percentage of how far you are going to go in that tournament. It largely depends on the draw. But like I said, we're not thinking about that right now. We need to win tonight. And, hopefully then we can just build a bit of confidence for the upcoming Premier League games. And we're currently third in the Champions League, obviously with 13 points. Liverpool lead the way. But like I said, the Champions League table is on your screen right now, and you can see, obviously, that we've been in pretty good form. I think that one blemish in the Champions League was obviously when we travelled to the San Siro to play Inter Milan, where, in truth, it kind of goes back to my last video. I think it was my last video when I mentioned about Arsenal are in desperate need of a striker. That Inter Milan game at the San Siro, I don't know when it was, maybe a couple of months ago now, really indicated to me just how much we need a natural goal scorer, because some of those chances fell to Kai Havertz. We had some chances falling in the penalty area and there was no one there to clean them up. And I think that game as well, it's those kind of games that you'll get loads of those kind of nip and tuck games when it gets to the latter stages of the Champions League, and that's where we're going to need someone to poach a goal, because there's going to be so many times when we get to the knockout round or the quarter-final where games are tight, where games are kind of, it's almost like a tactical battle, it's like a game of chess, and then we need someone to take one of those very few chances that we get. But like I said, the table, we're doing well. Liverpool are absolutely flying, aren't they? I think Liverpool, it's fair to say, are the best team in Europe at this point. But Arsenal, they're doing well. They are doing well. And like I said, another win tonight. And, it feels like we will be safely through to the next round of the Champions League. And on reflection, obviously, looking ahead to this game, Dynamo Zagreb are 24th with 8 points. We are expected to win this game. This has to be a win. It's not one of those banana skin games, I don't believe. It's not like you're playing, you know, Sevilla. I remember we've played Sevilla over the years, or a team like that, Bayern Leverkusen, who we know home or away could cause serious problems. This, for me, is a cut and dry case. We need to win this game, and I'm going to do my prediction right now as well. You guys, if you want to, guys and girls, do your predictions below in the comments section. I am actually going for a 3-0 Arsenal win in this game, a 3-0 Arsenal win. Give me your thoughts, guys and girls, on what you think the score is going to be tonight in the Champions League. I want to say it's a must-win. I'm not going to sit here and pretend it's a must-win game for Arsenal tonight, but it is a game we should win. It's a game we should win, given the circumstances, given the opponents. No disrespect to Dynamo Zagreb, but you expect Arsenal, given Dynamo Zagreb's place in the Champions League currently, they're very much finding it difficult. They're struggling for results, they're struggling for goals, and Arsenal should take advantage of that. But thanks ever so much, guys and girls, for watching this video. It's been absolutely fantastic. I've enjoyed bringing it to you. Remember, be unique, be you, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.